So a quick video just to show what's happening today. This is a bit more of an investigation and data gathering day. As you know from the earlier videos, we've now got the car running at about 144 volts nominal with standard current at the moment. I had tried enhanced current and that did work, but I just need to sort out a few things before I integrate that. So what I had to have taken the other spare CRZ pack to pieces now. So I'm going to show you a couple of the other modules that we have in. This is the DC to DC converter, and this is the nickel metal hydride version DC to DC, and this is the one which is obviously maxing out, as we know, at about 150 volts. So that means that we can't push the voltage any more than 150 volts, otherwise it trips out. So I just thought I'd take the top off of this and have a look inside it. And it's a TDK unit, and as you can see, it's beautifully made. I keep saying this about all these things, but it is beautifully made. We've got the power coming in here, and obviously lots of switching stuff, and basically it's a switch mode power supply. But one of the things we were going to possibly try and look for was to see if there was any obvious voltage sensing. Now it's a very complicated and neatly built thing. I'd have to probably destroy it to get it completely to pieces, and obviously it's got some very small microcontrollers etc on here, so I don't think realistically that changing the voltage of that or making it work at a higher voltage is going to be practical. So that is basically as far as I'm going to go with that. I might look at the output signal, the data signal it outputs, just to see what there is on there, but basically that's it with that. So that's very nice. I'm just going to put that back together and put it back in the module. So that's that. So then the other thing we haven't looked at is this, and this is the IPU. This is one of the main units in the car. This is the one that does all the hard work. This is the intelligent power unit, and it's one of the, obviously the big modules sits in the back there. So into here comes the IMA battery input, and in the top of this module, a bit like the HCH2 one, there are some big filter capacitors. It's not quite the same design and layout as the HCH2 one, but you get the gist of it. And out of this side here goes the input into the DC to DC converter, and these are the three-phase outputs for the motor at the front. So if we take the top off of this, so we see here these are three massive filter capacitors. These basically smooth out the DC coming in and obviously stop any massive spikes on the buses. So what we've got the power devices are underneath this circuit board here. Now unfortunately it looks like this is all made and then potted as a one-way operation. It's impossible to get this board out without unsoldering all these pins here and probably destroying it, so I'm not going to attempt that because there's nothing wrong with this module. It's basically a one-way operation. They obviously put all the power devices underneath, then they put this board in, solder it all in down, and then they pot it with it's got like a rubbery compound over it, so that's going to make it even more difficult to unsolder, so I'm not going to try and attempt that. But it's interesting to see because there's there's 6 power devices under here, so we can see that there's a group of very similar components for each power device, and we can see the pins which go through down to the power device in each position. So basically there's 6 power devices inside here. It's a full wave 3-phase bridge. So what am I always there to say about this? Interesting, I've been looking at current sensing, as you know, to see about fooling the battery current sensors. Now in the other OMA cars, certainly in the Generation 1 Insight and the HCH1 Insight, there were 5 current sensors. There were the 3-phase sensors, there was a battery current sensor, and there was also a sensor coming into the MPI. But there is no evidence whatsoever in the schematics or the owner's workshop manual of a current sensor in the MPI. However, if you look through the advanced diagnostics, which I posted a couple of weeks ago, there is one for P1586 if I remember correctly, and that does mention a MPI side current sensor. Now it's not shown in any of the schematics, so whether that's a mistake in this advanced diagnostic or whether there is a sneaky current sensor underneath here looking at the input, that's the only other option really. Now it mentions this code because if there is a discrepancy between the battery current sensor and this possibly hidden motor current sensor, not the phase sensors, there's possibly another one on the input here, then it will flag an error if there's a discrepancy of more than 35 amps. Now 35 amps is quite a lot, and you saw the other day I was getting like 160 amps, so that was probably within the tolerance of that error. But if there is a current sensor under here, it would be nice to know that, because there's no sort of physical connection for a current sensor directly to the MCM. So what must be happening is it must be sending the current sensor data in this data stream that comes out of here, that goes to the MCM, which would be logical, and maybe there is current data in here as well as voltage data. There's quite a bit of data in here, temperature, etc., but there may well be current data as well. So I probably need to plug this in and look at the data stream to see what's coming out of here, and then possibly try passing some current through this somehow on the bench, or I can connect to my one in the car and try logging some data as I'm driving and getting a bit of assist, etc., or regen. I already know about the voltage data from here. I could do with working out the temperature data and also the current data if there is, because if there is current data coming out of here, then obviously when we do the current hack, which you saw was potentially going to be fooling the phase sensors and the battery current sensor, we're also going to have to fool this hidden sensor in here. So that will mean that we will have to modify the current data that comes out of here on the fly so that it matches what the battery current sensor is seeing and the phase sensors, so that everything remains in sync. Now you've probably seen today I've been looking at another design change for the current hack, and we've come up with this one. So this is basically a bit of a simpler idea. So we've got a non-inverting unity gain op-amp buffer, and that will be for the battery current sensors and the phase sensors, because they are actually physically separate from this, and there's some values there for that, and it will be engaged by operating a switch. Now this switch will be operated by the voltage fooling device, well, at whatever current level we decide. So when that current level is activated, it activates the switch, that fools the battery current sensors and the phase current sensors. And then the only other one we need to fool is if there is a hidden one in here, then we need to modify that current data stream that's coming out and going to the MCM. So as you can see, this sort of work is never ending. There's loads of work still to do. So we're talking op-amps, we're talking switching ICs to fool these sensors. So I'm going to make a little switching board to do the 3-phase sensors and the battery current sensor, which we already know about, and I'll try that in the car and we'll see how we get on. But I'm also going to try and investigate to see whether there is a hidden current sensor under here somewhere which is sending out data on the line here to the MCM. So you can see there's quite a lot of work going on. I'm sorry I'm not making super quick progress, but all this stuff takes time. The only other thing to show you today, I'll just move it out of the way, is this rat's nest, and this is the brake and clutch switch pass through, because the connectors arrived, which somebody in the UK kindly managed to source for me. So basically now I can plug this into the brake and clutch switches, so I can test whether assist can be disabled with a simple switch, or braking regen and all that other sort of thing. And that, well, I think we've already mentioned this previously in another video. So that's where we are at the moment. So lots of work going on. I'm sorry we're not making super fast progress, but we're doing all right. But obviously these things just take time, and it takes time to gather data and then analyze it. So that's it for today.